attacks on military drones heats up tensions between America and Iran. Ontario's premier shuffles up his cabinet. And tips to reduce head injuries during this summer. Humber News starts now.
Hi, I'm Rosalind Changchen, coming to you from our newsroom at Humber's North Campus. It's Thursday, June 20th. Here's what's making news this hour. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and U.S. President Donald Trump are meeting today in Washington to discuss changes to the free trade agreement with Mexico. The two leaders are pushing to have a deal completed. Mexico was the first to ratify the agreement. Trump wants the deal to be finalized before summer recess, but is facing roadblocks from the Democrats. Democrats want a stronger mechanism based on labor and environmental trade. Trudeau is also meets with Democratic Speaker for the House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi and Republican Congress leader Mitch McConnell. Trade isn't the only thing on the agenda, as both are the dispute with China. Trudeau hopes Trump will advocate for release of Canadians when he meets with China President Xi Jinping next week for G20 leaders summit in Japan. Closer to home at Queen's Park, there were a major cabinet shuffle. 9 cabinet ministers has been reassigned and 4 new ministers named in one of the largest cabinet shakeups in the province's history. Victor Fedeli, out as Finance Minister, he moved to Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. Lisa McLeod and Lisa Thompson were also demoted. McLeod moved to Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, while Thompson goes to the Government and Consumer Services. Rob Phillips moved from Environment to become a new Finance Minister. Caroline Mulroney moved from the Attorney General to be Minister of Transportation. Newcomer to the Cabinet, Doug Downey, will be the new Attorney General. These moves come as Ford approval had dropped sharply after a number of poorly received budget cut announcements. Meanwhile, tensions continue to rise in Persian Gulf between Iran and United States. Iran claimed responsibilities for the shooting down an American surveillance drones. The two countries are at odds about what exactly happened. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says they shot the U.S. drones because it violated their airspace. U.S. officials, on the other hand, say their drones were flying over international water when it was shot down. This comes after the U.S. accused Iran of attacking 2 oil tankers in the Gulf of Oman last week. There's speculation now about whether today's event will have serious consequences. Closer to home, police continue to investigate a recent bomb threat at a number of college campuses, including here at Humber College. Simran Salini has a story.
4 post-secondary schools received a bomb threat on Tuesday. Toronto police said the call came just before 9 a.m, affecting campuses of OCAD University, Ryerson University, George Brown College and Humber College.
When the email came in, it was sent to our Department of Public Safety, and our guards and our security team immediately did a sweep of the college. We called 911, and Toronto Police Services also came to both campuses, but specifically at North, so Public Safety and the police did a search and a sweep of Humber campus. They didn't find anything that the email discussed.
Police say that the threats were all similar in nature. Some schools were temporarily evacuated before classes could resume, all stressful for students.
Yeah, I got a text and it was pretty nerve-wracking, but it was business as usual at the college. I still had classes and all, and some of the kids were kind of worried about if anything was going to happen, but it seems like everything's safe now, so
after the Raptors incident, the parade, there were shootings. It was kind of scary, but maybe it's related. But people are saying that it's just a prank or something like that. But students need to be safe, in campus. There should be more security and stuff.
Toronto police say the campuses are safe and an investigation is still underway. Simran Salini, Humber News.
In other news, today is World Refugee Day. Stephanie Uchis has a report.
Every year on June 20th, the United Nations Refugee Agency hosts the occasion. Filippo Grandi is the commissioner of the UN.
So people that have fled from war, persecution, violence, discrimination of various kinds, this number this year has surpassed 70 million.
World Refugee Day was created to bring awareness to conflict, violence, persecution, and human rights violations. 70.8 million people have been forcibly displaced worldwide. About half of the displaced refugees are children. 28,100 refugees were accepted into Canada in 2018. That makes Canada the country that resettled the most refugees last year. Events to commemorate World Refugee Day are happening all over Canada, including in Toronto, Ottawa, and Vancouver. Stephanie Uchi, Humber News.
Over at Toronto Union Stations, World Vision presents Untold Behind the Headlights, a 3-day exhibition featuring the galleries and the virtual reality escape game that show the stories of children on the move and in some of the world's most dangerous places. World Vision as Christian development and nonprofit organizations helps and empowers children, families, and their communities to overcome poverty and injustice. Last year, Liam Cunningham, famous actor from the Game of Thrones, went to the South Sudan with World Vision to meet people forced to flee their homes due to civil war. While being there, he presented lives of children and families through pictures and virtual reality experience.
The other work that we do that we're showcasing here at Union Station is our work in the world's most dangerous countries. We call them fragile contexts, but it could be countries that are dealing with conflict or war, political unrest, or even civil unrest.
As the weather warms up, more people are getting active outside. A new program launched in Toronto this week hopes to educate youth and families on preventing concussions and recognizing a symptom. Nearly 500 Canadians suffer a head injury daily. That's one every 3 minutes. Martina Novoreda has a story.
Beyond just scaling the wall, these kids are demonstrating head safety. Summer in Canada is a time for outdoor activities, and Scouts Canada and Hydro One have teamed up to educate families on the importance of head safety.
Concussions can really happen in all sorts of activities. Anytime there's a blow to the head, chest, neck, anything like that, whether it's sports, climbing, or even just tripping and falling and hitting your head, there are a lot of ways that it can happen.
Less than 1 in 2 Canadians actually understands what a concussion is, and when you kind of dig even deeper into that, it's probably 15% of Canadians that know kind of how to return to play, how to get treatment, how to get help.
Organizers of today's launch are hoping to change that, driving home helmet safety with kids by having them protect and then drop eggs, and to fit their own properly for biking, and concussion simulating goggles helped participants experience what the symptoms of a head injury can feel like.
This is a program that's going to allow kids to identify and treat head injuries and concussions. We think this is really important because a head injury can be devastating, and the symptoms of it can last for weeks, months, or even a year.
The program will offer free training to educate over 25,000 households across Canada this fall. For more information, head to their website. For Humber News, Martina Novoreda.
The summer also brings challenges for people living on streets. Pragati Council spends the day with volunteers offering relief from the heat.
The 20th annual Project Water got underway this week, with volunteers hauling water bottles into trucks destined for homeless shelters in preparation for Toronto's summer heat waves.
Today we're at the 20th annual Project Water, where behind us hundreds of volunteers have come together to pack 3,000 desperately needed survival kits that are going to be distributed this afternoon to over 150 social service shelters, drop-ins, outreach programs with 350,000 bottles of Nestle waters so that nobody will die this summer of dehydration on our streets.
The event was organized by Engage and Change charity, which was established to help Toronto homeless shelters because more people are dying in summers of dehydration. Today, volunteers from Scotiabank, RBC, CIBC, and among those packing safety bags, which include towels, soaps, and caps.
We've been doing this for probably about 7 years. We come out because Jody is one of our clients, and we come out to help the homeless.
And the event was wrapped up by a press conference in which they thanked Toronto Police and volunteers for their cooperation and support. For Humber News, Pragati Kaushal.
The 35th annual AIDS Vigil was recently held in Toronto Gays Village. The theme of Vigil was Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. It honors those who died and still live in AIDS. As Middle Munde with the story.
George Lamoni,
Gerald, Jerry, Vink,
Lloyd, Ron, Sprout.
13 names were read out loud at the vigil. 13 people who this year lost their battle to AIDS. Those present at the vigil say that the number should have been 0.
One of the things I learned in the process of being diagnosed is at the time I didn't even really care how I got it or who I got it from. And then I recognized that a big part of the problem with people transmitting HIV is stigma, because people aren't getting tested because they're afraid to get tested.
Participants are here this evening to share stories, raise awareness, and come together as a community.
I light this candle as a symbol of love.
A community that organizers say is too often discriminated against and targeted with violence.
But the community is very strong and very dependent, and we've gone through a lot in the last few years, especially with the Bruce MacArthur events. And then, 3 years ago, we had the Orlando shootings right on the edge of the vigil. And so there's always targets, and there's always so many people that need educating that HIV and your sexual orientation and choice, we're all the same. At the end of the day, we all eat, drink, and we have beating hearts.
Another barrier to better understanding is limitations that come with the legislative changes, says this MPP.
We need to continue to break down the stigma around the LGBTQ community as a whole. I think that something that happened this year that was really hurtful to the community was the removal of queer and trans identities from Ontario's sex ed curriculum.
The vigil had performances from the community, including music and poetry, all coming together to call for change.
This is how stigma ends.
The community hopes education will mean no names to be read out next year. Asmita Munde, Humber News.
We are going to take a quick break. Still ahead, the latest in sports. But first, South Coast Street has a preview of your 3-day forecast.
Take an umbrella because rain visited us again after a long sunny week. I will be back with the 3-day weather forecast. Until then, stay tuned with Humber News.